Welcome back, everyone. I'd also like to welcome back Kailey Lefko. Kailey is the co founder of Educalm Classroom. She's also the co host of The Balanced Educator, and she's a teacher. So, welcome back again, Kailey.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Absolutely. Well, Kailey, I would like to know, do your beliefs have any influence in what you're doing as far as Educalm, or is it completely separate?
It's a really good question. So that's a question that sometimes comes up about around the word mindfulness. Like, what is mindfulness? Is it a religious thing? Is it a certain type of belief? Mindfulness is a secular practice, meaning there's no religion or spirituality involved. It is just an exercise for your brain. So you're just exercising your brain and teaching it how to pay attention to one thing at a time. So it's really a practice in focus, a focusing practice, really. So sometimes, a way that I like to explain this is kind of like with sports. So football is a sport, it's not a religion, but people can bring their religion into their practice of the sport. So, you'll see some teams praying beforehand or, thanking God after a touchdown. That doesn't mean that football is religious, but people, are able to bring their religion into anything that they do. Same thing is true with mindfulness. So mindfulness is not a religious practice. It is a sport for your brain. It's a practice for your brain. But sometimes, there's lots of mindfulness teachers that exist in the world, and each of them might bring their own set of beliefs into it. Now, with Educom, we've been very intentional of keeping this a practice for the brain. It's an exercise for the brain that doesn't bring any spirituality or things like that into it.
Very good. Very good. I was curious too. So, when we were talking earlier about the emotions and the management, and I know this is supposed to be focused mainly on littler kids, but is there a way that this would work for really young kids, or is there a way that the parent could reflect what they needed to do in a way that the younger kid would notice?
Yeah. So, I know lots of people that have been practicing a lot of the breathing strategies that we teach in Educom with their kids since they were very young. It's definitely something that you can teach when they're very young. Now, it's interesting to consider though that children are very mindful. They are always in the present moment. They know how to pay attention to the present moment on purpose because they're always in the present moment. Now, we can teach breathing strategies to help them manage and regulate their emotions from a young age. That's really going to come with um, uh, modeling
Mhm.
what that looks like. So that would be, you listening to a guided audio out loud so that your child can choose to participate if they want. So we're not forcing them to practice with you, but, as they see you doing that five-finger breathing, well, they might want to do what you're doing. They might want to mimic you. And then you can invite them in to practice together. I know some parents that will have their child trace their hand as the parents when they're doing that five-finger breathing that I taught in last week's episode.
Mhm.
Um, so definitely lots of ways that you can start teaching this to very young kids.
And do you think there's, so we did the five finger breathing. Is there a way to, if a kid is really frustrated and on the verge of exploding, and the parent has been practicing this, but they're a little kid, so maybe they are in the moment and not ready to calm down quite yet.
Mhm.
Is there something that you would suggest that they pulled from your podcast or from your program that they could use in addition to that to try to, get them back under control or help them to see a different perspective?
Right. So, as I had mentioned in the last episode, it's very important to understand that mindfulness and emotional regulation is a skill that's learned over time. So, young kids, they just aren't at, like, very young kids aren't at a developmental stage where they have very much control over their emotions at all. That being said, you as the adult can help them to co-regulate. So the more that you're able to regulate your own emotions, the more you're able to hold space for your child, and through your calmness help them to calm down. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're asking them to do anything specific, but it can be creating a safe space for them in how you hold yourself, in how you interact with them, how you speak with them. And the more you can calm your nervous system, the better they're going to be able to come back to a calm state. Now, this comes with practice as the parent and as the child. So, as I said, very important to practice when it's easy. So, practice feeling calm when it's easy, when you're already calm. Practice deep breathing when you're already calm, so that when it is a challenging situation, you have something, a skill that's already been built that you can come back to. Um, so I would definitely say that that skill gets built through practice. So if parents are interested in, if they have very young kids that aren't quite old enough to actually be doing this practice themselves, so I would say at about 5 years old is when kids are really able to start doing this practice, listening to the audio and following along. But before that is probably a little bit too young. And that might just look like you as the parent doing the practice, listening to it with your child in the room with you. They can be doing whatever they want to do. And then maybe they sit down with you and practice. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's, they're kind of like absorbing it. Kids, their brains just absorb information. They don't have to work very hard to learn. It just happens. It's natural. Um, so I would suggest that the parent start listening to our free resources. We have free audios. There's 10 of them, 2-minute and 5-minute lengths. Start listening to that daily, make it part of your routine. And over time, you're going to really be building these mindfulness skills that help you to manage your emotions and then are going to in turn help your children to manage their emotions.
I was remembering taking my kids to the doctor's office one time, and I think it was for like their second or third set of boosters when they start to realize what's going to happen. They
Yeah.
already know what's coming. And I remember driving there as a parent, just sweating. I was absolutely drenched in sweat when we arrived to the doctor. They probably thought I needed the shots and not them. Um, and I remember trying to calm myself down and how my emotions were so high, I almost felt like I was vibrating them off onto the kids. And when we
Mm,
walked into the doctor's office, they had been fine, but as soon as we got close enough that I knew what was happening and they figured it out, it was kind of an uphill battle to even get into the building. So I'm thinking as you're talking about how, like, if you'd been practicing this and had that ability to say, okay, I'm just gonna, I'm feeling kind of anxious. I'm just gonna calm down and take some breaths. It would be so much easier to walk into that doctor's office with everybody on the same game plan
yeah,
than the opposite of that. And that's kind of what you're
definitely.
talking about, right?
And I want to highlight what you said there, where you said, I'm feeling kind of anxious. I need to take some deep breaths.
Mhm.
That spoken out loud of this is what I'm feeling. Here's a strategy I'm going to use to manage that is so important in teaching your children emotional regulation and emotional intelligence because they're going to mimic what you're doing. So if you can articulate what those steps are, they're going to pick up on that and they're going to start doing that for themselves. So, yeah, it's so great to say to your kids, I'm feeling kind of stressed about this. All right, let's listen to a guided mindfulness audio to calm down, or let's do 5-finger breathing to calm down, so that I'm calmer and thinking more clearly and ready to go into the world in a good way. So yeah, absolutely. And having that practice before the stressful situations come up really helps you to really feel strong in that ability to come back to a calm emotional state. Now, also as parents, please do not beat yourself up about times that you have not been able to regulate your emotions on your own. Like, we are emotional beings. Humans are all emotion. Like, we are emotional beings. It's just how our physiology functions. So, in a mindfulness practice, we really teach to not judge the emotions that you're having, watch the emotions, be aware of them. Oh, okay, my body is stressed right now. Interesting. Now what? Let's do some breathing. Now, how does my body feel? A little more calm. Interesting. It's not good or bad. It's just something to be observed because this is just the human experience.
Do you find that with this approach that you spend more time kind of highlighting, oh, you feel great right now. Are you paying attention to all of your, the body signals versus the negative part of that?
Yeah. So I think it's really kind of, yeah, the core of the practice, and through the EduCom practice, we kind of do this in a lot of different ways. But really, the core is noticing. So the kind of basic mindfulness practice would be a body scan. So just notice how your feet feel right now.
Hmm.
Okay, now notice, what do you feel in your legs? What do you feel in your belly? So you're working your way up through your body or down through your body, and just becoming aware of the sensations in your body, because sensations in your body are a signal. It's information that your body is trying to communicate to you. A sensation, it can be pain, it can be an emotion, it can be all sorts of things. I'm too hot, I'm too cold. Sensations are very important information to help us to make good decisions for ourselves. But we often ignore sensations because there's a million other things going on, and I don't have time to pay attention to this like slightly sore shoulder, or kind of stomach's feeling off today. I don't have time for that. So we really learn, especially by the time we're an adult, how to ignore our needs.
Yeah.
So with the
Yeah.
mindfulness practice, we're taking 5 minutes a day to just check in. What is going on in my body right now? What are these signals? What do they mean? Is there anything I can do to support myself, um, without saying that that's this pain in my shoulder? It's not a good thing, or it's that or a bad thing. It's just a pain. My body is just a body, and it's just a sensation. Now let me be aware of that, and maybe I make a choice afterwards, like, okay, yeah, I guess I need something. Do I go for a massage? Do I put a heat pad on my shoulder? Do I go for a walk, because usually I hold stress in my shoulders, and walking helps me to release that stress. So it's really a practice of checking in and noticing how you're doing, what you need, what steps you can do to support yourself.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Pretty good.
Life, right?
Yeah, right, right. No, I really appreciate that perspective because I think it's too easy to focus on that sore shoulder and not to
Mm,
be in the moment of what's going on around you. And I think the kids need to learn that early on, which is
yeah,
perfect. This is perfect.
yeah.
Really quick, so if they want to tune into your podcast, how do they do that? And if they're interested in your program, how do we find that?
Yeah. So lots of a wealth of free resources for you. So the Balanced Educator podcast, you can find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So that could be iTunes, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, I guess is what it's called now. Google Play, all the places that you might want to listen to a podcast, you can find the Balanced Educator podcast there. You can also find it on our website. So if you don't, use the podcast app, you can go straight to our website and listen to it there. So that's educalm.com. That's EduCalme.com. And then just go to the podcast and blog tab, and you'll find all of our episodes there. And then if you'd like to try out our program, you can get it for free. So the program is a full 12-month program meant to be used as daily practices, but you can use the first unit of our program for free for always. So if you go to our website, you'll see that there's a free trial available. So if you click on that and sign up, you'll get access to the Start Here theme in our program. We tried to make it really clear, start here. So that's where you go. And all of that is free to use forever, so it doesn't expire.
Wow, that's great. That's a terrific resource for parents and educators both.
Yes, yeah.
Very good. Well, Kaylee, I appreciate all your information. It's been great, and I can't wait for people to try it and tell us how it goes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's so great to meet your community.
Oh, I think they'll love you for sure. All right. Well, we'll attach all your links that we have in our email as well. So until we talk again, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.